President Biden's proving he's totally clueless and Americans aren't having it anymore. Joe Biden turning a blind eye to the problems plaguing the country, including rising gas prices, massive inflation, and an energy crisis, all being made worse by his policies. The White House now playing cleanup after getting called out over a plan to shut down that pipeline in Michigan. It now says it's only reviewing building a new one. And when it comes to the pain at the pump, the White House basically telling Americans, too bad, just deal with it.
We're very concerned about the impact of high energy prices on consumers, especially as we enter the colder months. We just don't have anything right now to announce. But like I said, we're monitoring this and we're working through what is it that how we can actually address this.
Republican lawmaker Jim Jordan torching Biden over the higher prices, saying this is all by design.
What do these guys want? $8 gas? We had the big oil company executives in there from Chevron, Exxon, BP, who had them in there. And Ro Khanna was badgering these guys saying, will you commit to reducing production? So Joe Biden begs OPEC to increase production and Democrat members of Congress badger American companies to decrease production. I mean, this makes no sense.
They are so rich.
And Americans are losing faith in Biden fast. A new poll shows that over half say Biden hasn't even been focusing on issues that actually matter. Greg, you brought this up the other day. This is by design, the higher prices. I think it was you, someone that looked like you.
Yeah.
It's worth reminding people this is what Joe Biden said about phasing out fossil fuels. Run it.
We are going to get rid of fossil fuels. They want to do the same thing I want to do. They want to phase out fossil fuels, and we're going to phase out fossil fuels.
You think this is part of the plan?
Yeah, I think if you have a less independent population due to an economic crisis, they're more dependent on the government. We even saw that with COVID. The free money was a kind of an accelerated version of that. I know that it's 5 o'clock, so I need to get permission to be really disgusting.
Go ahead.
I never really asked for permission, but I figured I would now, and the producers probably aren't even listening, right? They're probably just getting their coffee and settling. They have no idea. So what Joe's saying is he doesn't want you to pay attention to what's going on. He's always passing the buck, right? He's not taking responsibility. But we had a saying back in 3rd grade. You know what that was? Whoever smelt it, dealt it. It may be silent, but it's deadly. He's the guy that always lets one fly in an elevator and then assumes if nobody else, if he doesn't react, no one else will react either. Even though the stench of his White House is overpowering, he releases more gas than OPEC. Maybe that's why he doesn't think we need more energy. But the big thing is you see MSNBC saying inflation is a good thing. CNN saying, oh, Joe can't do much about this. It's out of his hands. It's unusual and weird to see the media say, what can you do about stuff when they spend so much time saying, you must do something, whether it's climate, you must do something, whether it's gun control, you must do something. But here it is, people have to pay more for food, gas and oil. It's like, not so fast. It's really not on him. And I think that goes back to what I said, that they want a society that's more dependent on government. And that's why this is not that big of a deal. I wish Joe was doing nothing. But like you said in the opening, he's actively destroying our energy sector. As gas prices soar, cutting off pipelines, that's like basically removing, your children's playground set as the kid gains weight. This is not helpful.
It's funny, you're right. The Democrats have finally found the one thing they can't control.
Yeah.
Energy production.
I thought you were going to say farting in elevators.
Yes. Would you like, I was going to go to Dana. Why don't I move over to Geraldo? Any follow-up on that analogy?
How do you pay attention to his pretty intellectual discourse after he starts it with flatulence?
No, that's what grabs your attention, and then you pay more attention.
Right.
It's the combination of the two.
The hook.
That's right.
The snarly hook.
Your thoughts on what we're seeing right now with this administration?
I think Afghanistan is very instructive because in Afghanistan they had good intentions and they did it ass backwards. Instead of evacuating the civilians first, they evacuated the military. Civilians stuck. They had to redo. And I think the same thing is happening with fossil fuels. They want to eliminate fossil fuels. They cut down on the supply of fossil fuels in furtherance of that goal way before the alternative has been developed.
It's not ready.
So it's ass backwards. First you develop. First you want everyone to have a Tesla. Then you could get rid of fossil fuel. To do it now, when it drives up the price at the pump, I think that is problematic. And I think that is very instructive of his thought process and how they are reacting almost in knee-jerk fashion to whatever it is. Yes. It's very improvisational, and I find it distressing.
Ass backwards, Dagan.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Usually. The fact that Biden and his liberal cadre, in the past have been so slavish to the polls and so reactionary. Remember in the summer of 2020, when the polls started moving against them on the rioting, both Harris and Biden came out in August and said, oh, we denounce violence, even though it had been going on for weeks, couple of months at least. But now they don't seem to care about the polls.
Good point.
Which is hugely troubling and frightening. So what they see is they're going to ignore the polls, and they see this, even ignore the election, the losses in Virginia, because they see this window closing now. They've got 1 year to push through this incredibly divisive but left-wing agenda, this scary-ass worldview that they're imposing their will on the country, whether it's forcing people through higher prices to use alternative energy. They're going to spend $4 trillion more to create this giant new century welfare monstrosity. It's all about not just bigger government, but more centralized government, Europe on steroids, and certainly more power to those in power already, a scorched earth approach to getting their way. And I'll just point to last month, and it's not just necessarily at the federal level. Gretchen Whitmer tried to last year shut down this. It's a 4.5-mile stretch of this Line 5 pipeline. It is she was trying to terminate this easement, and Canada last month had to invoke a treaty to stop it. This sends fuel not into just the United States, but fuel to heat and gas up the cars in Ontario and Quebec. They hate Canada.
Yeah, and they were supposed to be very diplomatic compared to the previous president, they claimed. So that's a great point. They were very nimble when it came to the polling, and at least acting like they cared about public sentiment in the election. And now they're just like, go walk.
You've seen this on many issues. One of them was Afghanistan. Remember, their solution on Afghanistan was to say, well, it was the largest airlift in history, and also everyone will forget about this in a month.
Spin.
That didn't happen. They're doing this on immigration. They are in the teens in immigration in the polling, and they still are like, yeah, we're not doing anything on that. And then the midterm ads write themselves, because basically what they've done is say, we're not going to pay attention to the things you care about, even though people are saying, no, these are the things we care about, and they still ignore them. And today they're pushing this $500 billion for climate change issues, while people are actually talking about the high price of gas and groceries. And then they have this grab bag of policies. And it's like if your mom gave you $20 and said, go to the store and get some groceries for the family, and you go and you get 2 six-packs of beer and some magazine, you come home, and it's like, no, the family's still hungry. And what the deputy press secretary said today was that we have no specifics on that. And they won't. And that this is a story that's not going to go away like in Afghanistan. It's not on the front pages, but it's still on people's minds. Winter's just beginning. And so you got a long way ahead. If Granholm just said 54% increase for your heating oil costs, you think that's not going to reverberate through the whole country? And also, it takes a while for supply and demand to work itself out on energy issues. And they're not doing anything to increase supply except for asking OPEC to help. That's a bad position to be in.
2 six-packs and a couple of magazines. Yeah. That's my Thanksgiving. It's affordable. You know?
And
your family's upset.
Yeah.
Global warming might bail them out.
All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.